Coaches and parents, are you tired of having to constantly nag on your athletes to, go to their training sessions and put their work in? If so, this is going to be a great episode for you on how to unlock their internal motivation so that they can be the drivers of their own success. The Impact Podcast, transforming leaders on and off the court with host Coach Furtado. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner on the Bridging Impact Podcast Network, where I, Coach Furtado, I share what I am learning, right, from what I'm reading, what I'm experiencing on how to impact your players and transform them into leaders on and off the court, sharing successful tangible tips for you that you can take away and implement into your practices, games, and routines right now. And so we're going to dive right into it here on the podcast. And I'm talking about the 3 really important motivational factors to unlock your athlete's success and their internal drive. And so when we're talking about drive, this is the book. It's called Drive by Daniel H. Pinkman. I read it a couple of years ago when I was a youth development professional at the Boys and Girls Club when I was working with first graders. And at the time I had kind of someone that was working with me on I had basically another startup similar to kind of what I was doing with, BTG basketball, except in a just completely different space. And for lack of, time on this podcast, I just wanted to help motivate her to, basically want to participate, right? Because I think there is a new age and way of coaching. And you can see up there, I don't know if you can read it, just like you have to say less and ask more and change the way you lead forever, which is the coaching habit. And I talk about this all the time. And number 1, when it comes to unlocking, your athlete's drive, is you have to give them autonomy. And I think this is the biggest one that coaches and parents miss on, is because we have, certain life experience. We've seen certain things work with different players before. We've seen things work with ourselves before. And so we want to tell them what to do. Well, unfortunately, when we become the dictators of what they should be doing, what actually ends up happening is we zap their motivation. And when we're always telling them where to be, when to be, what to work on, we're zapping them of their autonomy and exploration on what they want to, get better at, right? No one likes being micromanaged. No one likes being micro-coached. I really love this, kind of idea and concept around, I had a great podcast guest in the, summer of 2022. VJ Stanley came on and he talked about how, how would you like it if someone came in to your office and, they started being like, hey, you need to put Microsoft Excel here. You need to do this, and they started, your athlete came in and micromanaged you and was like, hey, how do you see yourself, exploring and micromanaging? And as coaches and parents, we live through our players, right? I'm not a parent, so I typically don't like to speak from that experience because I don't have that experience. But even as a coach, right, we see a lot of times, we see players with, similar traits to us. And we want to kind of, be like, oh, I wish I did that, so you should do that. What we really need to be doing is we need to unlock their autonomy and motivation inside. So autonomy, what that is, okay, you want to be a better shooter, right? Okay, what does that mean to you? Do you want to become, 40% shooter from 3-point, become a 40% 3-point shooter? What is that? What are you willing to commit to? Okay, when are you going to work out? How can I support you? How can I hold you accountable? Instead of having it be, you need to put up 100 shots. You need to do this. You need to do that, right? Like encourage them, be like, hey, all right, you want to be a great shooter. And then they tell you certain things. Like you can still guide them. You can still hold them accountable. But if you're telling them to do everything, it's just like they're going to lose motivation really quickly. So number 1 is autonomy. Number 2 is mastery. And this one is, a real big separator, right? And this is, I think, one of the reasons that you're going to have to listen to the number 3, that mastery is going to really make sense. because you have to have autonomy to want to achieve mastery. Otherwise, if you have a coach or a parent telling you to do something all the time, you don't really care if you master the skill because it's not coming from yourself, right? It's not that internal drive. It's not that I want to do something, right? And so that is the big key, is how can we help them, become masters? And, as coaches and parents, again, we're guides. So how do we, teach, this is how Curry became a great shooter, show them different things, right? There's a great documentary on Curry on being an underrated player and how he became a great shooter, right? So showing them what it takes to be a master and kind of lighting that fire, having that storytelling technique that really just lets them expand their ability to become a master at their craft, right? Talking about what being a master is like, and really showing them that mastery is within their power, right? Like, I think that's just the most important thing, is like, if you really want to master something, it's got to come from you, right? Which comes to the autonomy part of things. And mastery just is really what the separator is, right? I'm trying to become a master coach, a master podcaster, right? I'm learning different techniques to get you all into and provide you all a better listening and visual experience. I need to improve my editing skills so I can improve my YouTube. However, I definitely want to continue to become a master so I can provide more value. And then the last one is going to be purpose. And the reason I said mastery before purpose, and purpose is the last one, is because I think this is the one that gets lost the most. I believe that oftentimes adults in general just tell players that, especially the ones who are talented, you have to play this. And I think one of the big questions I'll get is, coach, like, I have this great player, but he just really doesn't want it. Okay, does he really want it, right? Like, you just said it in your statement. Does he really want to play this sport? And if the answer is no, I think, a lot of times, we equate so much value to our young people based on how they play a sport. And in reality, right, sports is not everything. And it's really important for us to not pin their identity on, you are a basketball player because, or whatever, a soccer player, because at the end of the day, we all hang up our cleats. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges. If you go and talk to all different athletes, whether who hung up their cleats after high school, hung up their cleats after college, right, or got to play professional, I think the transition from player to coach, or player to, general public citizen, is one of the most challenging things. So what kind of purpose can we help unlock from our players? What is your purpose as a basketball player? What is your purpose with becoming a better three-point shooter? At the end of the day, it might just become a more confident person, right? Like, if I'm shooting the ball well, I'm scoring more points, I'm an important part of my team, I'm going to have more confidence when I'm at school. I'm going to have more confidence when I'm in the classroom trying to learn, this math that's been giving me, fits and challenges the last couple of weeks. So if we can really help them find their purpose for why they want to, become better at a certain skill, why they want to play basketball, why they want to play baseball, helping them find that purpose, that why, is what's going to help connect them to when they're tired, right? For my athletes, we just had a great team meeting yesterday. So we're going to have days where they have a horrible day at school, stuff's going on at home, and their why, if they really want to play college basketball, right? We have a conversation. All right, give me your 62% that you have today. We talk about, you're not always going to be 100%, but if you really have that strong why, that internal motivation, you feel like you have autonomy and choice, and you feel like, you really know what it takes to become a master, and you want to get 1% better each day. That's what's really going to unlock your athletes. And I highly recommend reading this book, Drive, Daniel H. Pink. It's a great one for all managers, all coaches, teachers, parents, because it's really what can help us, unlock our athletes to become great leaders. That's the purpose of this. We need to teach life skills through sports, right? It's not the main function and purpose of sports. Sports are fun, right? We need to make sure that we keep our sports fun. We need to keep our athletes safe and make sure that they have a great and a memorable experience. However, it's just an incredibly important opportunity that we need to take to teach them these life lessons that'll help them succeed in college and beyond, even if they don't want to go to college. So thank you all for listening to another episode of Coach's Corner. Remember, the 3 motivational pieces that you can take away from this is give your athletes autonomy, help them learn what mastery is, and help them find their purpose within their sport and beyond. Make sure to leave this podcast a review, comment on YouTube, or reach out to me on social media if you want to continue this conversation. This is why I do it. I do it for coaches like you all so we can make a big impact on our athletes. Coach Furtado out.